microphone was muted. Hello, everybody! Welcome to Hamster's Hobby Hang. We're having some technical difficulties, actually, currently. It's called just the two of us because it's just supposed to be me and Hamster today. However, as you just heard there, we lost him again. I currently have this set up for where my face is right now. That's supposed to be where Hamster's feed is. Long story short, Hamster's moving right now, and he doesn't really have internet at the moment. Oh, hey, he's back. Can I hear you now? Oh!
Hello, hello.
Oh! I hear you.
You hear me? Okay, thank God.
Yeah. Let's go.
Don't even.
Just that. Oh man, no, it's like that. It's like that picture of the hamster, like using a phone, which I guess actually is fitting. All right, cool.
So like,
Don't.
the setting to put it in the Bluetooth, but then it wasn't like picking up the mic, and so I tried to switch it, and it just went to shit.
Yeah, I get that.
I just had to like abort.
Hey man, the important thing is you're here, and we're doing our date night. Let's go.
There we go.
Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Date Night with Steve Carell and Tina Fey.
Oh my God, I want to now.
It's honestly, it's pretty good for what it is. You know, like it's. Looking back at it, I'm sure some of the jokes have not aged very well.
Sure.
But you know, might want to rotate your camera. Yeah, I'm not gonna ask him to rotate anything. I'm gonna rotate stuff for him at this point. There's been enough chaos with trying to get him on this call. I'm not gonna ask him to do anymore.
Oh wait, no, that's me. That's me.
No, don't. Oh no, Hamster, I'd already fixed it. All right. Don't touch anything else. I'm gonna. Oh, all right. All right, hang on. Don't touch anything. Just paint.
Okay, deal.
We're paying you to paint. All right.
So wait, so we're live. It sounds like.
Oh, we've been live.
So did you do the trademark intro
I did.
for me?
Yes. You can do it now if you'd like to. I didn't know if you'd be able to.
Well, if it's already been said, I can't. You know, you've already done your version. Your
Yeah, but
beautiful.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing. All right, I want everybody to know what Hamster's doing currently. Since he doesn't have a computer that can work for this, he's using his phone, and he's built a tower of buildings of Tudor. I think the top floor is Tudor, and then the bottom two are stone. That he's got the phone balanced up on to get this angle. So that's how Hamster's calling in today.
Super technical.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. Somebody asked about the music that was playing before this. It's a track. Amy Waters is a musician and a friend of mine. She's got a lot of stuff on Spotify. I should be playing that right now. Actually, hang on. There we go. Yeah, that music's going. She does a lot of synthesizer stuff. She describes herself as like electronic folk musician. Oh, Hamster, actually talk a bit so I can actually get your levels. I realized I wasn't looking at your levels.
Actually, I've been playing Amy Waters like almost exclusively on when I've been streaming it.
Yeah.
Like one of her albums a lot.
Yeah. So the intro music that was playing over this, she did a bunch of streams where she was making music live and doing like live concerts, and she was just creating the songs from scratch with all of her synths and everything. And she released the music to her Patreon backers as downloads. So that's what I was playing before this.
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what it was. I think that one was called "I Need Better" because she would do 3 like 20-minute songs every week when she did that stuff, and so. And then the name of the songs were always like themed, and so that week's sessions were released as "Dear Twitch, I Need Better" song names. Were the 3 names of the songs. So
that's
yeah. But no, she's a very good musician and a close friend of mine. AMIE Waters, if you want to find her stuff. She also has a lot more stuff. She has years and years of stuff under her dead name. She transitioned a couple years back, and Spotify doesn't let you convert your artist information if something like that happens. And so she was basically, when she transitioned, she was looking at having to either keep her music under her dead name, and all the people who had found her through Spotify would still be able to listen to it, or she had to take it down off of her existing, like, profile and account and lose all of that following, and then have to re-upload it under her new, under her, you know, her real name. And so, what she decided to do was she left it under Ace Waters, and just changed the banner to say, hey, all of my new stuff is going to be under Amy Waters. And hopefully that worked out for her. But she has, like, tons of video game and, like, movie song covers, as well as what we're listening to right now is an album called Cosmos of the Soul, which is an album she made about her kind of gender experience. It's very, very good. I like it a lot. So yeah. As for the minis we're doing, this isn't the Santa mini. What this is yeah. This is just a dwarf druid on an elk mount. I got it from the same place on Etsy that I got the pangolin that I made into like a that like machine pangolin. I needed like a couple more things to get free shipping. And I looked through it and I was like, I really like this sculpt. There's a lot of really cool details on it. Let's actually... Yeah, like he's holding a little bird. Holding a little bird there. I really like the staff. It's also got a very good material to it. It's just from a shop on Etsy. I like it a lot. So yeah, I have that. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that today, or... I also got just a ton of animals. So... And I also got myconids from Reaper.
Animals?
Yeah, I have a wolf. I have... I'm not sure what this is, actually. Not like an... It's got...
Wait, did your big Reaper order come in?
My big Reaper order? No, I haven't gotten my bones yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna be one of like the last waves, you know? I was a late backer as opposed to a Kickstarter backer.
Oh.
I'm hoping it gets here before I have to move. I hope they don't...
Sure.
I hope they don't ship it, like, at the worst possible time, where it's after I know where I'm gonna live, but before... But, like... Or where it's like... I hope they don't, like, ship it right before I actually know what my address is gonna be, and then it gets here after I've moved, you know?
Right, right. Like, I was gonna say... I'm lucky that, but I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword. I'm lucky that my ex is living in our old place for that reason. If I have a random Kickstarter that ships to the old place.
That's entirely fair. I'm gonna have to... Man, I'm gonna have so many Kickstarters to go and, like, fix the address for when I move. Because I back so many things that aren't shipping until, like, the end of the year or next year.
Right.
What's up, guys? Hey, Gentleman Wake. Etsy has some great 3D printers. No, they really do. Like I'm genuinely astounded by the quality of this place. Let me grab the other thing that I painted from them, because I'm actually really happy with that one. I think it's one of the best things I've done. I'll be back in just a second. Hamster, why don't you go ahead and explain to them what you're painting?
Well, I'm here in the office. For those that don't know, I just moved yesterday, or mostly moved. I have a few loose things, but... So I'm here in the office, doing a flawless mobile call-in, as you can see. But so on the shelf above my desk, there's been random, the WizKids pre-primed minis, and there's just this cool-looking wizard. So I thought, hey, throw some paint on there. Most of them, I think, came from Nate. Honestly, most of these came from I just came in the morning, and these were on my desk. And one time, Nate just said, hey, I kind of just figure if I put something on your desk, it's going to get paint on it. And that's mostly true, because it was a long journey for this guy, but he's finally getting some paint on him, so...
Just have it delivered to the office. But then if it's something I have to take home from there, what if it's like really hard to move?
Do you know what I got delivered to the office? My Caverns Deep and my Hellscape, and then I had to take all of that on the subway, and it was not fun.
See, that's the thing is I realized like my Wildlands order is gonna be delivered here. So this is the pangolin I did that I got from them. It's supposed to be like a magma pangolin, but our artificer, his steel defender, he decided looks like a pangolin, and so I did this kind of like metal paint job, where we tried to make the, you know, like the top kind of bronzy, and then underneath is a more kind of cold steel. This is one of the things that I think came out cooler. I'm also really happy with my work on the base on this one. I like the way that the base came out. I used some of the interference on the hourglass.
Ooh.
All that jazz. Yeah. Really happy with that one. So, same guy that made this this elk shaman, this druid shaman on an elk mount. So I don't know. I'm torn like on what I want to paint because I have a ton of. So I've got the myconids because we don't have any myconids because Nate hates myconids, but myconids come up fairly often, and so I feel like just having some on hand would be good.
We have a handful that we speed painted over snacks, though.
Yes, we do have those because we had to for Lillard's game. He wanted like 20 myconids, and we didn't have any, so we had to like. It was a real mess. I've also got a bunch of animals, which might just be useful because we have a lot of animals in our home game. Because Chelsea's obsessed with animals in general, and so having more animals will just help with all the wild shaping she does, as well as all the random animals we have around our party. And I like the poses on them too. I love the pose on this bear. It's very active. And then I've got two more of like the I've based all of the, although some of it started to chip. I hate metal minis, man. But
Yeah.
Dark Sword Miniatures does these really cool anthropomorphic animal sculpts. And you know, I did some of them for that Fish in the Fog game, if any of you saw that. Actually, I think some of you I remember seeing there. Gilded Poison was there. And I got a couple of those still. I have this like fox shaman that I haven't done. And then I have this. They sent me this sloth for free, and I love this sloth a whole lot.
Free sloth.
And so I wanna paint those too, because honestly, I've been working for a while on making a rule set for like a Redwall RPG, and they kind of make the perfect minis for Redwall, honestly.
Yeah, their animal stuff is really cool.
Yeah. So
when I first heard of Frostgrave, I made multiple carts on there, making full warbands of hamsters, gerbils, and other rodents.
Yeah. Let's see. I saw the enormous box I got for 3 small sets, and I can't imagine what my huge Wildlands order is going to look like. Yeah, that's very real. It's going to be massive, honestly. Not a fan of metal minis. I have a few and they look cool, but just a pain in the ass. That's really what it is. Like, you can get some really cool detail out of it, and like they can look great, but it's just getting the paint to actually stick is really, really hard sometimes.
Yeah, getting a full coat of primer on there is like most important with metal for sure, and even then still.
Well, getting the primer to even stick, I feel like I gotta like prime for the primer.
Yeah, I have to do multiple layers, and I spray the crap out of it with varnish. And sometimes you still even lose some paint.
My landlord's calling for some reason, but I don't want to answer because I'm working. So, I think they're wanting to know if I'm like re-signing the lease, but I don't like I still have like a month to do it. I just got the. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's moving. Everybody's vacationing. I think Nina just moved.
Yeah, like everybody's doing stuff, and I'm just been sitting in here. I don't know. I might not end up moving, but
Oh,
I'm trying to figure out what makes the most sense, like, financially.
sure.
Hey, Hippo, how you doing? Hate that my hobbies are so bad for the earth. Yeah. Anything cool from WizKids pre-painted recently? I actually have no idea.
Yeah, this is an old one. I don't know. I don't buy them a lot, so we just had this one in the office. So I wish I knew more, but
I don't really buy pre-painted minis because minis are the thing that I enjoy painting.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I was thinking of these pre-primed ones.
Oh,
But yeah,
pre-primed.
definitely don't touch. I honestly spend a lot more time painting than gaming at all, so I don't need to like buy painted minis for gaming.
I also like. I don't keep up on mini news very well.
Yeah.
I really only hear about things if somebody else posts about it in the Discord.
Yeah, over the past year or so, I've joined a bunch of Facebook groups gradually, and that has helped me, especially like the indie fringe games where you can use any minis. I've seen a lot. Obviously, like Warhammer and stuff, I get emails about all the time, so it's easy to keep up with that. But the cool little companies that are doing sweet stuff, I'm starting to be more in the loop on that. And even like the mid-range ones like North Star, War Games Atlantic, which maybe they're not even mid-range. Like those are big companies. They're just like not Games Workshop, is I guess what I'm thinking of. But you know, those kind of companies I'm more in the loop on because of all the games I follow on Facebook.
There are too many independent sculptors doing really cool stuff to be able to like paint all of it.
Right. Well, that's where I'm at. I haven't bought a miniature because, like, trust me, just from having moved, I realized just how many miniatures I impulse bought over quarantine from small little companies. And I'm glad that I have them because that's where you find the really characterful, unique stuff. Because, you know, want the stuff that sells, that's like, you know, they're cool and good quality, but the weird stuff comes from the small companies.
The stuff that a large company wouldn't take a risk on because it's safer to just go with like doing like a one-to-one depiction of the of like the art from the player's handbook and stuff.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Friend gave me a set of old 80s Grenadier metal fighting man miniatures that I'm mostly done painting. They're looking a lot better than I thought they were going to.
Nice.
Oh, man. Everybody's a better painter than they think they are.
That is true. Like, I've been watching. Sometimes I'll catch a stream of this painter Big Deno, and I've heard it from multiple streamers. It's all just practice. Like everyone's like, "How you're so good, you're so talented." They're like, "I just practiced a lot, man." Like, it's so much of the muscle memory and just the precision just comes with time, and then all of a sudden you're doing really cool stuff really quickly, and it's just repetition. So everyone can, I think, like get to a point where they can get the result that they want.
Facebook became way too intelligent about showing me ads for minis and gaming Kickstarters. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I guess it's another reason why I'm glad I don't really do Facebook anymore.
Yeah, that's where I got into trouble. I think I've said this before, but it's because I would look at our Kickstarter and be working on it, and
they'd be like, "Oh, you like Kickstarter?"
What'd you say?
And then they'd be like, "Oh, you like Kickstarter?"
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you like gaming Kickstarters? Here you go. I'm so glad, you know, I bit the bullet and I sold the Bloodborne game, the Simon game.
Yeah?
Because I didn't want to move it.
That's real.
And I have so many miniatures already. It was like 3 boxes up to my chest that I got. And I was like, look, this hasn't happened yet. I haven't pulled it out of the box yet. This isn't going to happen.
Bloodborne's interesting from like a mini standpoint because they've got a lot of really cool designs, but they're also like super specific.
Right. Well, that's like so Frostgrave and obviously a bunch of his systems and others were the first ones that I ever seen that said, "Hey, use any miniatures you want. Just use what you think is cool and like theme it however you want." And so then I started. That's how I justified every purchase, including that. I was like, I could have a Bloodborne themed campaign, you know. So that's the rabbit hole I went down with that one. And then it comes with the board game, and I'm like, I'll totally play it. I'll make time. I have the game, and it's like I didn't. That's why I didn't like the Warhammer Quest recently has a bunch of really cool miniatures, but I was like, I don't want this whole game attached to it. This game models. I think someone laughed because I said they have all that extra stuff. They're like, you mean the board game?
The thing we were actually selling.
Right.
I honestly wish I could have just bought the minis from the Monster Hunter Kickstarter.
Yeah, right, exactly. Same deal, yeah.
Oh man, I love so many of those designs. But it's interesting. I say that, but like I look at it and I'm like, I mean, those monster designs are also incredibly specific. Am I actually ever going to use them in a tabletop game? And the answer is yes, I will find a way to.
Well, right, exactly. You'll always, like, you have to just put that on yourself of like, well, how would I make this really unique thing work? And then your mind starts swimming, right, with all these ideas.
I just love Monster Hunter a whole lot, you know? So, like...
Yeah. Well, that's how I felt. That's exactly how I felt with the Bloodborne. I just, like, love the aesthetic. And I wanted to pick up the Dark Souls board game, too, but the same deal. I talked myself out of it because, you know, the board game.
I think to some extent, too, there's also some of that, like, Froghemoth appeal where it's like, even if we don't use it, there's just, like, a lot of appeal to me to, like, actually paint this thing and go, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Right. Well, and, too, like, with the Dark Souls and the Bloodborne and Monster Hunter, really, the deal is the boss minis, right? Like, the giant frickin' creatures.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Well, the thing is, like, I'm sure I will find uses for the hunters, because... they're kind of similar, outside of the fact that they're all humans, they're kind of similar to a group that we have in our home game.
Oh, nice.
In terms of, like, the kind of weaponry they're using and everything, like, we have, like, a group of NPCs that my character is kind of closely tied to, where their whole thing is, like, they've got weapons like that because they specifically are there to hunt large monsters. And that's, like, what they do.
Right.
So, like, the equipment that they've got in Monster Hunter, it's like, no, this is, like, the kind of stuff Tyler described them having. So I don't know. So I feel like I can find a use for them pretty easily. And
wait a minute. I heard from the movie that hunters start with assault rifles.
I hate that movie exists. I cannot believe that's the direction they went with it.
When I first watching the trailer, I was like, oh, it's called Monster Hunter. It must be based on the game. And I started watching it, and I had the thought I was certain. I was like, oh, this is something totally different. I didn't even think it was a Monster Hunter movie, even though it was called Monster Hunter. That's how wild it was.
I just want to go to one video game movie where I feel like the people who made it are actually, like, massive fans of the franchise, you know? And they keep saying that's who this dude is. You know, they keep saying, like, oh, no, he's actually a really huge Resident Evil fan. But, like, man, I don't know, man. I think he just has a thing for Mila Jovovich. I mean, I know he does. He married her, but still. Some minis I want just as practice for painting. Yeah, like, there's definitely... It'd be very cool to just kind of, like, show off, oh, hey, here's this Diablos that I painted. But, like, outside of the Rathalos, like... The Rathalos you could pretty easily substitute as, like, a kind of just massive, like, dire wyvern or something in a game. Like, you can get away with that one. But some of the other, like, the Devil Joe, the Great Jagras, like, can you know, I don't think there's really an analog for them in D&D, so you would have to homebrew it. But then, man, homebrewing that and coming up with ways to put them in D&D would actually be really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, I keep talking myself out and then back in.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
I've never used your Dwarven Forge terrain in a game. Oh man, it's gonna be so exciting when you finally get to. New Mortal Kombat was great. I haven't seen that yet. There's an existing Monster Hunter monster manual. Yeah, somebody did do a homebrew for it, right? I think somebody posted it in the Discord a while ago.
See, like you just said, if it's made by fans, I feel like that's where you would find the best material in that realm of like based on other IPs and stuff is when it's fan made.
Yeah. Another thing I thought was weird was, well, not weird, I guess, because you know the scope of the thing has to stop somewhere, but they didn't do the Coral Highlands in the Kickstarter,
Oh,
and that bums me out because like the Coral Highlands, one, is just like a gorgeous area, but it also has like some of the most it has some of the more interesting monster designs in it. But they only did the Ancient Forest and the Wildspire Wastes. So they didn't do the I guess the only thing that's like really weird about it is they did 2 of like the main 3 Elder Dragons.
Huh.
Well, I don't want to say main 3. They did. There's 3 Elder Dragons that you have to fight before you can go fight like the big final guy.
sure.
And they have 2 of them in there because one of them is in the Wildspire Waste and one of them is in the Ancient Forest / Elder's Recess. But the third one is in the Rotten Vale, and they didn't have the Rotten Vale as a locale, so they're just missing. They have almost all of the bosses, and they're just missing this one. And it's really weird to just be missing like this one boss monster.
Yeah, that's kind of awkward.
So I don't know. I'm kind of missing the Valhazak. I don't bother to fully homebrew. I usually just take 2 monster stat packs and merge them into one, like an ancient gold dragon plus air elemental into a wind dragon. It's not fire breath, it's hot wind breath. Let's see.
Didn't think I'd be getting a flashback to Wizard of Oz in this stream.
Wizard of Oz specifically?
Isn't that where the what's that from?
I honestly don't know. I'm just making noises.
I think Oz, they're like marching. Who is it? I'm trying to remember.
I definitely wasn't thinking Wizard of Oz.
Maybe I'm wrong.
It's possible, like, subconsciously, that's just where my mind is at the moment, but, like...
In Oz?
Yeah, but I have no recollection of Wizard of Oz crossing my mind anytime in the last several months. Yeah, there's a Witcher board game Kickstarter.
Ooh. With minis?
With minis.
Oh, man. Don't tell me that.
Yeah, that's the response somebody's having in chat right now. They're like, I need to pretend I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I think the only reason I know about it, though, is somebody on Twitter was unhappy about it.
Oh, that stinks.
It's got, like, 9 playable characters or something, and none of them are women, and so they were kind of...
Oh.
upset about it, which makes sense, especially considering like there are characters in the series, like there are women in the series that are like these strong, like, badass characters. So it's weird that you wouldn't want to like have Ciri there or something.
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know. I mean, they're still in the Kickstarter though, so it's possible that they listen to feedback and adjust it.
Right.
I honestly don't know too much about the series. Like, I probably know more about it from the Monster Hunter crossover they did than anything else.
Wait, that was a thing?
Yeah, Monster Hunter World has a crossover mission with The Witcher.
What?
Yeah, you hunt a Leshen, and you do it enough times, you can get the materials to put on armor that makes you look like Geralt or makes you look like Ciri.
Ha! That's cool.
Yeah. Stretch goal, heavy breathing soundtrack. What are they signing? They signed Corpse Husband on.
Corpse Husband. Is that a band that features heavy breathing?
He's a YouTube man. Who,
YouTube.
Yeah, he's known for having like a very deep voice.
Okay.
And I think his initial thing was he read creepypasta.
Oh, sure.
And then when Among Us blew up, he became like one of the really big Among Us guys. Because he'd always be on streams whenever like a celebrity was playing or something. Like when AOC was playing Among Us that one day. He's always like on stream, like special event Among Us streams where there's a celebrity and they're always like, "Oh my god, his voice." You know? And so at one point he just uploaded like an audio clip to Twitter of just him breathing like heavily. And everybody freaked out and like got him trending and stuff. I don't know. I don't understand that entire part of Twitter that's like obsessed with Dream and Corpse Husband and stuff like that. It's a whole thing. They constantly get them trending for nothing, and it's weird. I don't like it.
That sounds like Twitter.
Yeah, it gets into that like really weird. It gets into that like parasocial on purpose thing.
Yeah,
which is weird to me. Not necessarily because of the guys, but like their fans are like, I guess just like the stan culture thing. I don't know. I think that stuff's really weird. It's especially weird that they call it stan culture when the etymology of like where stan came from is like not great, you know?
Yeah, I always thought that was strange. It's like, so you're calling yourself that?
Yeah, it's like the term stan came from a very negative connotation. And y'all are just like embracing it really, really hard.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't know. I always think it's weird when somebody's fan base consists of a lot of people who have profile pictures of them.
Oh, yeah.
And it gets into the part where they're like making fan fictions of like existing people and stuff. It's weird. It's all really, really weird.
Yeah, that is strange.
But I also don't know all that much about it. I just see it trending on Twitter and see random tweets. It's just a sign that I'm becoming an old man. Witcher TCRPG seems like it's pretty good on that regard, but seems like the exception. Yeah, but I don't know. Like I said, I haven't even actually looked at it myself. I just saw somebody talking about it. I'm trying not to look at Kickstarters as much as possible right now. I very much need to focus my money on whatever my living situation is going to end up being in the next couple months. So I'm either staying in this place with the rent going up largely, or I'm moving into a place entirely by myself, which is also going to be a large. Either way, living is going to be more expensive very soon.
Well, if they're both options are expensive and one's by yourself,
Yeah. Buy AMC and GME instead of minis? I bought into AMC, actually. That's starting to recover, so I'm excited about that. I don't know, we'll see how high it goes as people start getting back into theaters.
I kind of thought it was too late when everyone had heard about it.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Is, yeah, like, the best time to get in is before anybody's talking about it. But the second best time is immediately as soon as everybody starts talking about it.
Sure.
At this point, I'm just getting like a base coat down on everything.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing on this guy.
I need to decide what color scheme I want to do for the myconids as well. I think that's the main thing. With the animals, I know exactly what I'm going to do because I'm going to make them look like their respective animals.
Right.
Ugh. I probably would take a vacation if I didn't have to move soon. I don't know. I'm just thinking about like how long it's been since I've actually taken like time off.
Well, yeah, hopefully there'll be some time in the future.
The reality is I actually haven't taken time off since I started like at Dwarven Forge regularly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the thing here, right? So it's been said, it's like there's never a time when it feels like a good time to take a vacation. You just have to do it.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, even after Wildlands, I still worked in that week after Wildlands.
Right.
I was on the Discord, like, gathering information and stuff, and... I don't know.
Yeah, there's always something.
Yeah. I think it's the problem with the work actually, like, feeling like something you enjoy.
Right, right.
Like, there was no way for me to just, like, get carried away with, like, a restaurant job.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't passionate about moving rude people from here to here. You know?
I feel that.
But with this stuff, like, there is, like, a joy in it, so then it's harder to realize, like, hey, you need to step back for a bit and do anything else.
Right.
Here we go. Oh, my back. What I should do is go on a retreat to some kind of camp where they teach you how to sit properly.
I need that, I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what.
It's like, especially painting models, like, if I hold it too low, my face will just get closer and closer and closer until I'm, like, hunched over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, I just consistently, like, ball more and more up over time, no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah, me too. I have to just, like, get in the habit of... Even when I'm trying to pay attention to it, I'm still constantly readjusting.
My favorite thing about base coating is you don't have to be careful.
Oh yeah, that's the best part.
Literally, your goal is just to 100% cover everything. So it's just like... It's good stuff, man.
I got so many sloppy sections on this guy right now.
Sloppy section sounds like a good name for a podcast. Get one of those posture strap thingies. I mean, I don't want to put effort into it.
Right.
I just want it to be fixed.
Yeah.
I was talking to, for Tyler's birthday, we, saw a couple friends. Saw a guy that Tyler and I worked at a restaurant with a long time ago that I hadn't seen literally since I stopped working at that restaurant, like 4 years ago, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Dude looks no different. He's still absolutely jacked. And, and, like, he talked about, like, how he kind of felt bad about, like, letting himself go during quarantine.
Yeah.
And, like, the dude is all muscle. I don't know what he's talking about. Like, out of everybody there, he was the only one that you could, like, look at and go, like, yeah, now that's being in shape, you know? And I'm like, if he still feels bad about his body, there's no hope for me. So I was asking him, I was like, how do I look like you without changing my diet or putting in any work? The answer was just to have ungodly genetics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How's that?
Well, so far my parents haven't changed.
Okay.
So I'm not feeling great about that.
And then if they did, they'd have to like mail you the update, you know, like.
Yeah, I'd have to install it and.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if I would want to deal with that downtime.
Right.
Half the time I don't understand the tangents I go on. Just commit to bits that I don't think make any sense in
That's
the long
what
run.
like the show.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's why people come back, honestly.
They're here for just absolutely indecipherable babble.
Yeah, they come for the minis. They come for the hobby. They stay for the nonsense.
Come for the hobby, stay for the hang.
There you go.
Ooh. Ooh, ouch. Oh. Man, oh man. How about the one D&D in a castle experience that's advertised every so often? Cost is quite high, what I remember right now. Here's the thing. I just don't see the appeal of that. To me personally, I don't know. That doesn't mean much to me. I think it's also a me problem. Is half the time thinking about taking a vacation, not actually going anywhere, just feels like a lot of work to me.
Yeah, I get that. Like when I was packing and stuff for my trip and getting ready for it, I'm like, why is this worth it? And then when I finally got out there, I was like, oh right.
It's I could just stay home. No, I get that entirely. I mean, that's the I had a thing to say. It's somewhere in there. Somewhere in there. Give me time.
Fluttering around.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'll just stay at work for an extra hour or two sometimes, because I just don't want to bother getting on the train.
Yeah.
So I'll be done with work and I'll be like, man, I just really want to be home. But the process
Right.
of traveling home feels worse than just sitting in a chair at work and just staying there. And I know that eventually I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to go home.
Right.
But
that's why you asked me, no question. If I could have superpower, it'd be teleportation.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so convenient. You could probably accomplish most of the things the other superpowers would let you do. You could probably accomplish with teleportation in some fashion.
Right. Yeah, like flying, teleport there.
Flying, super speed,
Yeah.
none of those mean anything. Go. Almost got all of these completely based. Speaking of completely based, Nate saw a Goofy movie.
Oh, I think I heard about that from someone. What was the verdict?
His 4-year-old was scared at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes sense. It's a very David Fincher kind of sequence.
Yeah.
David Fincher? David Lynch. David Lynch. Actually, I think both work. Yeah. Yeah, just that nightmare where he transforms into Goofy and gets the buck teeth and all that.
Yeah, right.
Apparently that terrified Hawken.
Oh no.
And it took him a solid amount of time to get over it.
Oh, cow.
And then
The
apparently, for a lot of the rest of the movie, it was a lot of questions about why they were doing certain things because they didn't grow up in the 90s. So a lot of the stuff didn't make sense to them.
Oh, sure.
Like they rolled out like the AV cart with a TV on it to watch a movie.
Oh, yeah.
And they thought for some reason the TV was strapped to a fat box, and it's like, no, that box is the TV.
They thought it was an extra box. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's it's wild to think about how quickly things have moved.
I know.
The amount of time that we had DVDs before streaming happened was not very long.
Right. And honestly, like
DVD to Blu-ray to actually DVD to HD DVD to Blu-ray to streaming.
HD DVD, yeah. Like DVD through to streaming, like HD and Blu-ray. I feel like I hardly ever heard about them. Like I sort of did, but they were just a flat. Like they just were gone in a flash, kind of.
Yeah. Like, I remember the PS3 coming out, and initially the reason everybody wanted one was like there were no good games for it, but the reason everybody wanted a PS3 was that it was the cheapest Blu-ray player on the market.
Yeah.
And but then it wasn't much longer after that Netflix started, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, remember when Netflix would mail you DVDs?
I think they still do that.
Do they still do that?
It's still a service.
Wow.
Because there's still some people that like just don't really have internet, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, on my trip, I passed by a place that like still had the Redbox outside. The Redbox DVD rental.
The Walgreens that had our Redbox that we would still use shut down when the pandemic started.
Wait, the one kind of close to the place, I guess.
The one literally like right by my apartment. Yeah, shut down like a month into the pandemic.
Wow.
Which really sucked because that was one of the most convenient things to have close by your house during a pandemic.
I'll bet. Yeah, jeez.
HD DVD wasn't really a thing. Blu-ray smoked it in its infancy. Yeah, but that's what I mean is like how quickly we moved through tech at that point in time.
Yeah. Which, speaking of which, have you seen... I just saw a video today of a new demo from Unreal Engine 5.
I saw some of my game dev friends talking about it.
It seemed nuts. I mean, they were going into sort of the workflow stuff, which obviously I'm not a developer, but it seemed convenient. And the result, of course, was sweet.
One of the guys I follow, the guy that made Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, he says like every time they drop a like an Unreal thing, he's talking about like he starts thinking like, oh, maybe I should get into Unreal, and then he thinks about like the process of actually using Unreal and just doesn't want to. Hey, remember getting a DVD player in 1997? Yeah. Isn't really moving through tech. It'd be like if Nvidia just smoked AMD on GPUs and put it out of business. The point is, DVDs were around for like, it feels like maybe a decade, and then it was streaming. And I mean, they're still around. I still have a bunch of them, but I don't know.
You know what I was just thinking? Who was I talking to? So my parents have like a smart TV, right? They just have like the apps directly on the TV. But the thing is, it's so weird because I was trying to get them to install Apple TV because, of course, I want them to watch Ted Lasso, the best TV show around. Right?
Oh, that's right. You saw it.
I'm watching it for a third time.
Dude, I watched it all the way through again in the anticipation of the new season, like a week or so ago.
I still need to watch the. It reminded me that you said that Mythic Quest has new episodes I have to watch.
Yeah, every Friday they got a new one out.
But so my parents' smart TV, right? Like I was like trying to get Apple TV on it, and I looked it up, and they're like, "Oh, if you don't have an LG from 2019, they bought it in 2018, and it's outdated." I'm like, my Xbox One I bought in 2014 can run any app. Like, what is the deal? So that was kind of an odd hiccup that I didn't expect from tech recently.
I get Blu-rays for movies I care about. 4K Blu-rays look better than streaming. Yeah, absolutely. And that's also one. I just like owning physical media because then you actually like have it. I think it's a big thing for me. You know, it can't get removed when Netflix like loses their like contract on it or whatever. DVD through mail is how our family gets Netflix, or at least used to. It's been a year or two. Yeah. There's still some stuff that... There's like a couple movies that just don't seem to exist anywhere that you can only get through... It feels like the one or two copies that Netflix has. There's like this O.J. Simpson sketch comedy show.
What?
Or not sketch comedy, a prank show. It was an O.J. Simpson's prank show called Juiced. And like the only way to like get it is like Netflix has like a handful of discs of it.
What the heck?
Yeah. You like can't find it anywhere. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Like for a lot of reasons. But there's an O.J. Simpson prank show called Juiced. Also, Vertex asked an interesting question. He asked if we think we're in our forever careers / industry.
You know, it's hard to say because it's kind of a motley crew of people trying to pursue other stuff, you know? Like, I came for, like, acting and stuff, and same with, like, Chris, and he's been doing his filmmaking. And we kind of just fell into this with our random skills.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like my job here is kind of I like it because compared to I was freelancing for a long time, and compared to a lot of the other like day jobs I had, this is much closer to what I actually want to be doing with my life than you know, working at a restaurant. But I don't know, like I do like tabletop because I find it interesting as a storytelling medium.
Yeah.
And there's work that I want to do in tabletop. But I think ultimately film is my thing.
Right.
That's where I feel I can communicate myself most effectively, at least.
Right. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, obviously, this has been a question because we're all artists and we all have different passions here, and like that's why we're good for the company. But then there's always that question of like, I don't know. I guess part of me has just been kind of being like, be happy where you are and not where you're not. You know, like I'm doing really cool stuff here, and it's not what I like moved to New York imagining myself doing, but it's still really freaking cool. So I want to be here for a long time for sure.
Well, I think the main thing is a lot of people... I don't think anybody could move out here expecting this is what they're going to do, because I don't think most people expect this to be a job.
Right.
So I
yeah, I mean, I was in restaurants too, obviously, like many. That was just kind of the deal.
Yeah, I don't know how long I'll be here, if I'm honest.
Yep.
And that's not anything against the company. Like honestly, like it's Dwarven Forge is like kind of a godsend in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Just in terms of it's one of the better paying gigs I've had. It's one of the more flexible. Like if I need to go to an audition or work on something, it's like a no questions asked. Like no, like if you have like a personal project you need to take care of, go do it.
Yeah.
And it's also a place where, you know, I'm lucky in that I get to actually work on stuff related to like what I'm interested in. I'm getting to like write supplements now, which is cool.
Yeah, that's sweet.
It's related to you know, it's not exactly the kind of writing I want to be doing, but it is getting to write, and getting used, like getting more practice writing to a deadline and kind of getting that workflow down. And I don't know, maybe I'll want to take tabletop writing farther. I hadn't thought of it, but like I said, like what interests me about tabletop is the storytelling aspects. So I guess we'll see. But no, I think ultimately I just want to tell stories that hit people. I think is really it. And more opportunities are provided working for Dwarven Forge than any of the other day jobs I've done. And honestly,
Yeah.
I prefer it to when I was randomly freelancing for people who were varying degrees of good people.
Yeah, right.
I worked for some pretty awful people when I was freelancing. Just because you're kind of at the mercy of what jobs are out there. And Dwarven Forge actually came pretty close after I had quit. Like I had like walked off a recurring gig I had just because the guy was just real racist.
Oh God.
And it was like, all right, you need to find somebody else to do this, because I tried to like talk to him about it.
Right.
And he like started throwing a tantrum. Just that he was like even called out, like even like remotely. And so like I could not have like been softer with him. Like I definitely used kid gloves in the way that I talked about it.
Right.
But it was still like not okay that I had like suggested that. And it's not even like it's not even like a subtle thing like oh, I noticed that you treat these people like differently or something. It was like straight up like throwing slurs around, and it was just like, dude, you can't do that. Like what do you, like? And it was a mess. So like Dwarven Forge actually came a little bit after that, which was
I had just
good time.
crappy couple months before I got this also.
Yeah.
I guess what I'll say for myself is like, I currently have no plan on leaving. Like I'm very happy where I'm at, so I don't like have any plan to leave or anything.
Yeah, I'm not planning on going back to restaurants or anything.
Yeah.
I do want to make this feature though, which like that would involve leaving for probably a month or two just to go do that thing, but I have a degree in film. I'm a math teacher getting a doctorate in educational technology. I'll probably end up as an esports director at a college, which actually relies on both of those. Dude, awesome.
Wait, that's sweet.
One of my little brothers is wanting to go into esports like as a career, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, well, there are colleges where you can go that'll have like teams and you can get like some practice, but.
And some of them even have scholarships for that. Quite
a few of them, honestly. Like there's a lot of colleges trying to build up programs right now.
Yeah, that's cool.
And when I was running an Overwatch team, we had a couple players who were also playing on like for their college, and the bar's not that high at a lot of colleges yet, because they're still like establishing the programs and all that.
Right.
Dwarven Forge should offer modular career paths. They kind of do. You kind of just make your own job here. I work in video games. Took a long winding path to get here. Quite a few people do. Did 10 years in a restaurant while I was in college, and I don't recommend it. Yeah, no, it's awful. Full-time TTRPG DF team stream. I want to do some narrative-focused projects. I've been talking to Nate as we start getting back into the office. It's going to involve stepping up some of our equipment. It's going to take a lot of prep, but I have some ideas for some. I want to try and make some like genuinely like impressive, like tabletop series, at the company, and I want to try doing one of those this year. as we start getting back in. So we'll see how well that works. I think there's a lot of TTRPGs and video games, both to me, are fascinating because they're fairly new industries, just in terms of like them being explored as kind of artistic, like narrative storytelling things. You know, like D&D's been around for a while, but it wasn't until fairly recently that it started getting taken seriously as like this big like storytelling vehicle necessarily. And I think there's stuff that isn't being done right now that'd be interesting. That was the whole pitch behind our channel, honestly. I was saying like, hey, nobody's really covering the kind of stuff that we do in this industry, and I think people would be interested to see the creative process behind like terrain construction in a way that nobody else can really do it. It was like the entire thing was just kind of like see like there are gaps that aren't being filled right now, and trying to like fill them. I think there's a lot of room for storytelling that isn't happening right now, and I think we can pull some of that off. And this is the kind of place where I'll be allowed to take that risk, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, Chris is basically the main reason this channel happened.
I was really annoying about it.
There you go.
I think either of you could leverage the experience you've gained. Yeah, probably. There was a part of me. There was a period of time where I really wanted to work at Giant Bomb. I still want to work with them a lot, but Giant Bomb has kind of recently drastically changed what kind of place it is, and I don't know that it's going to be the kind of place I want to be anymore.
Yeah, that was surprising.
It really kind of came out of nowhere, and it sucks, but it seems like it's still going to be good. It's just, you know, they're changing what the company is.
Yeah.
It's just time, you know. Jeff felt they needed to change and evolve if they were going to survive, and I trust that he understands what's going on there more than I do. So yeah, there was a period of time where I really wanted to work there, but I think that's passed.
Well, kind of wondering if I can take on some commissions in the slower seasons.
You could.
I have a couple right now, and I just want to like. I'm trying to figure out what it's like to manage them while also working here, and turns out it's a challenge.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be cool to.
You could definitely get the work.
Yeah, right. And you know, it's like.
I know you can do the job, but can you get the job? Or no, I know you can get the job, but can you do the job?
Well, and it's like, I don't know. There's something different about painting for something that is going to manufacturing versus painting something that other people will use. Like, I'm way more attached to it. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
So, I want it to be good, and I'm like more self-conscious about my results, and I still need to balance the commitment, but I also am really, really attached to the result and someone else having it. So I don't know, but that's why I took them, is to see how I like it. And it's still really fun to go back and forth with people and work on stuff. It's just kind of slow going right now because, of course, when I picked that up, that's when all of a sudden I had to move and everything happened at once. But that's why I did it. I was like, how do you manage life and this if you did it? So I'm learning that trial by fire.
Polygon better than Giant Bomb. Hard disagree. Well, no, so I think probably now, yeah. Well, actually, now that Brian David Gilbert is gone, I don't know. I consider them very different. I wouldn't really consider them to be competing necessarily. I don't think anybody was really competing with Giant Bomb for like their space, but like, man. Some of the stuff that Dan did at Giant Bomb was like phenomenal, and I would love to do stuff like that. But it doesn't seem like the kind of stuff that's going to happen there anymore, so I don't know. I did apply for for Polygon at one point.
I think I remember.
Yeah. I applied for Polygon, and they hired Brian David Gilbert.
Oh.
So, yeah, which makes sense. He wound up creating all of their good content for a long time. Do you guys make enough to live in New York? It's so expensive there. It depends on where you live, right? Like, that's the thing, is the answer is yes or no, depending on where you're trying to live. I try to live very cheaply, largely because I had to for a long time. This is the first year I wasn't under the poverty line. And I've still managed to, like, make it work in the city, you know? So...
Yeah, I mean...
It is crazy expensive here. Mostly, the rent, but you can find cheap ways to do everything else if you're careful. And I managed to find myself a pretty good place, cost-wise. Although now that's coming to an end, so I don't know. Well, maybe.
Yeah, you just gotta keep looking, be creative. But yeah, I mean, it's not like... I'm spending like more than the suggested percentage of your income on expenses, I guess, but I can technically live here, and Dwarven Forge is probably the only reason why, based on what I was doing before.
I've been able to start chipping away at the debts that I accrued while living here, so that's nice.
That is nice.
Why not start your own YouTube channel and keep the profits? One thing is, I'm friends with a lot of big YouTubers. I don't want that life.
Sure.
I see what their lives are like, having to make it work on YouTube, and I don't want that. Just like the uncertainty and like how frail the whole thing is and how quickly it could fall apart.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's not to mention, like, I'm really bad about people deciding they deserve my time or whatever. And so if a bunch of people felt like they had access to me 24/7 because of YouTube videos, I would lose my mind. You know?
Yeah.
So that's a large thing, is like lifestyle wise, nah. Like, I do make stuff for YouTube, but I have no intention of it being a career or making money off of it, really. I just do it to make stuff, one, to practice my writing and editing and stuff, and two, because I have things that I think of that I want to say, or I have things that I feel like should be made and should exist. And so I'll make it and I'll put it up there, but it's not something I want to make a career out of.
Well, it's one of those things too that, like, it's a long game. Like, it takes so much to build up to a point where it's actually sustainable financially. Then it's like paying you.
Yeah.
It's just a grind in that way. So.
Well, or you randomly blow up, you know.
Well, that's the thing too. Yeah.
So
You see these blow up for nothing, and it's like, okay, what have I been doing? Wasting my time.
It's basically the film industry without the safety nets, which is wild, because the film industry does not have a lot of safety nets. It's less secure, that stuff. I don't know. When I was younger, I definitely was interested in the concept of being like a YouTuber. But as I've gotten older, the novelty of that has faded, and I realized I'm not into the culture that you kind of have to buy into to make it work on the platform, you know? I don't want to do the stuff that you have to do to be big as a YouTuber or a streamer. I'd rather just do the stuff that I enjoy doing when I want to do it as an outlet. If I tried to make it my living, I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
kind of wild because Griffin and Justin were basically Polygon. Yeah, that's true. Polygon had the McElroys, and that was like a huge thing. Man, chat has been moving. Forgot Giant Bomb existed. So did Giant Bomb for a while, I think. They didn't. The pandemic didn't hit them very well, and then they lost Abby. Abby was one of the only people who was doing well with the pandemic streaming change, and yeah. Losing to Brian David Gilbert is nothing bad. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, he's a phenomenal creator, and he already had like a fan base that he could bring to the platform. Like, it was a no-brainer when he submitted. Like, nobody else had a chance. Your network is your safety net in film, right? You know, there is a there are unions. There are there's regular work that you can pick up, you know, doing freelancing and stuff like that. If you want to try, freelance editing for YouTubers, let me tell you, I've done that. Getting it to pay well and getting it to actually like function well with a schedule is maddening. I've edited for a couple YouTubers, and like the concept of it's not great. It's definitely not great. Take the Wormwood/Worm Life route, but for DF, nah, we very notably don't want to do that. Love the new stuff Pat, Simone, and Jenna have been doing. Pat and Simone were always cool. I haven't watched Polygon in such a long time. I would see like a Brian David Gilbert video every now and then, but like outside of that, like I've fallen off of Polygon a lot. Pat and Simone were funny though. I mod for a lot of relatively small streamers compared to the insanely big channels. It's still a lot of work. It really is. I'm just not interested in making that my living. It has to stay fun for me, or it becomes awful. Fiverr for editing. The nice thing about Fiverr is you get to set your rates, but like it's also on a platform where you're with a lot of people who are going to undercut those prices, you know? And a lot of people are just going to go for the cheapest thing they can find. Freelancing's rough enough. Freelancing is hard, but man, I definitely wouldn't want to go back to it. With the taxes got harder for freelancers lately.
I didn't even think about that.
They cut back on how much you can claim for like your living expenses and all that.
What?
Yeah.
Your living expenses are your expenses. What the heck?
Yeah, no, man. It's it was like 2 years ago, something like that. It was rough. Like it got really rough for freelancing.
Huh.
You're a volunteer mod for a reason? Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't do the YouTube thing. Too many people want to tell you about the YouTube channel, and it's like, slow your roll, dude. You got 86 views. Yeah, that's another thing. Is that's part of the game. Like, I just don't want to play it all. I can't do that. I can't BS with people that I know are just like trying to use me for stuff. Like, it's very easy to tell when somebody is just trying to use you, I think. And it's something I don't play nicely with. I would not be into that. Cause yeah, man, there's a lot of people who just constantly try to get you to constantly just trying to use you to get ahead. It's rough.
Yeah, that's shitty.
That's in any creative field, honestly. I remember I did this gig before where I produced and directed and edited this masterclass for a casting director.
Oh,
And he gave me it paid really well. It was great. It was one of the reasons I was able to like go full-time freelancer, was able to like quit the restaurant work. Was that paid well enough that it gave me like a bit of a cushion to start setting things up. But he gave me a shout out afterwards, and I kind of wish he didn't. Because then what I got was a lot of people asking me to write and direct and shoot and edit stuff for their reels. Like a bunch of actors like asked me to do a bunch of work for them for exposure. Saying like, oh, I'll shout you out to my friends and all that, and you know people are gonna want to use the people I used. And it's like, so your friends are gonna want free work from me? Like I don't what? And one of them in particular, she had never acted in anything, so she was saying she's gonna like tell her followers about me. She didn't have any followers. The only thing she'd done was she had gone union off of doing just background work, which meant that she could no longer act in non-union things because she was in the union. But she didn't have any actual proof or footage of her actually acting.
Yeah, that was a mistake. What the heck?
She wouldn't be able to get union auditions. Here's the thing. It's fine if what you want to do for a living is do union background work, because that pays really well.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like a lot of law students in the city and stuff where that's what they do on days when they don't have classes. They'll go do extra work, and like that's how they, you know, and they'll do whatever they got to do in holding and all that, and so they'll be like doing the work in there or whatever. But like a lot of students and just like other people like just make their living doing extra work, because you can do that. There's enough television production happening in New York that like you can definitely make your living doing that. And you know, like free food, free haircuts, every now and then you get like bonus pay. Like it's not a terrible gig as long as you don't mind the hours. So you could totally do that. Like going union off of background work, totally acceptable, but not if what you want to do is be like a big name actor. Like you gotta actually act in some stuff for that. Overboard is my favorite segment, which I feel like is a Clayton thing. It's also why I have One Night Ultimate Werewolf and Sheriff from Nottingham. I do want to... Oh, who's the guy that's in charge of their... I wanted to reach out to him and talk to him about, like, collaborating on some stuff. The guy that... They have, like... The guy that's in charge of their board game stuff. I can't remember what his name is. I followed him on Twitter, and I was going to reach out to him about some stuff. So I feel like he could be fun to collaborate with. I don't think it's Clayton. It might be. I don't know. I want to... One thing I've been trying to do is I've been trying to establish some connections with other New York-based creatives so that we have just more connections, more things in our pocket that we can do. Especially as we get back in the office and we can start doing more ambitious streams. You know, there's all these shows and stuff that we wanted to stream that we had to put on hold when we went remote. And, you know, we're getting the chance to bring them back now. And so I'm trying to reach out to people that we could collaborate with on them. And the board game guy from Polygon's one of them. I'm a fool for taking so long to realize that all I really needed to make this look cool was a good dry brush.
Yeah, I'm kind of at that point too, where I'm just like repainting stuff because it's not where I wanted, and I should have just done the basics at the beginning.
Yeah. Pretty sure Clayton does Overboard, but I feel like you can try anyone on the team. That's fair. Honestly, anybody from Polygon would be really fun to work with. I wanted to reach out to the Giant Bomb guys too. Ideally, man, getting Austin Walker to DM something would be fantastic as well. DW was showing off some of his Elderwood Academy stuff a while, and they seem pretty good. Oh, Elderwood Academy's great. I love Elderwood. They're really, really nice guys. Just block anyone that wants to pay you an exposure. It's wild to me that people still try to get that stuff to happen with, like, how often they get put on blast on Twitter for it. You figure at this point, people would realize that, like, it's just a really bad idea and you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But people are still trying to, like, bully artists into it. And it's like, what do you think is going to happen? It definitely happens more often with visual artists than anything, like painters and the like. I tell people it's okay to do a job that isn't what you really want to do, but if you can't be proud to list it on a resume, you need to get out ASAP. Yeah. And that's ultimately the thing with the... I don't know. I feel kind of ashamed with how long it took me to get out of that one job. But it was a thing where it was like... I'd been freelancing and money was tight, and it was like, this is the only regular gig I had, and it didn't pay great, but it paid decently enough that I was like, this is paying my bills. But I just reached a point where I was just like, I can't keep working for this guy. I don't know. I eventually grew a backbone.
Hey, I mean, it's hard, man. It's hard when you gotta pay the bills.
Yeah. I think it's what a lot of people rely on, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people rely on the fact that, like, you need money to, try and get away with, like, just some pretty awful stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Man, I love this song. I get a lot of I have an idea for an app. Everybody does. Everybody has an idea for an app. Dude, I love how many... I know this happens with video games specifically a lot. But man, a lot of people on the internet sure think that there's like a really well-paying, high-up job for them at a company somewhere. Them with no game design experience. Where they could just come in and tell people, like, this is what a game should be like. And then everybody else does the work for it, but they're the heroes because they came up with the idea. They just have that, like, brilliant of a sense of game design, you know? I think a lot of that is encouraged by all of the YouTube channels that I loved growing up, by the way, that were about, but just based entirely on, like, talking about how bad games are. And there's always some guy who's never made a game. I used to love that content when I was younger, and it was definitely I don't know, there's like a certain amount of value that you kind of feel about yourself when you're able to explain why somebody else doesn't have value. And I think that's where it's where the appeal of a lot of those channels came from. I still watch game design videos, but I try to watch people where, like, it looks like it generally comes from, like, a place of love, and they're not trying to, like, tear things apart, necessarily. You know?
Oh, yeah, the people that have a lot of critique, you know, they're not going to think about it that much unless they care about it. Well, theoretically.
Well, and there's a way to critique. And critique well, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But some of it just gets, like, so mean-spirited. Like, I look at it now and I'm like, what is this actually about? Like, is this game actually so bad that, like, you've got to get like this about it?
Well, and that kind of goes back to what you're saying about the YouTube culture, right? It's like, you start going down a road and something catches on, and sometimes, you know, the youngins and the internet trolls don't always like the nicest content, but what's getting the views is railing on somebody, so you keep doing it more and more, and all of a sudden that's...
Yeah. I don't know, the older I got, And the more experience I had actually making things, the more I realized that, like, regardless of, like, the final quality of something, the way that we talk about media is very important, I think. And so it's really unfortunate when we are critiquing it for the wrong reasons, and I think we can cause a lot of harm. Everyone has an idea for an app. The only difference is people want me to do all the work on it and then give me 25% ownership. Yeah, no, that's like that's a very genuine thing in like all creative fields. But like I imagine in tech, it's probably like way up there. Are they ever good ideas? Like, has anybody ever told you something and you're like, okay, you're being obnoxious and I hate this, but actually, it's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll, put that away and work on it myself. Because 9 times out of 10, it seems like somebody's ideas, the quality of somebody's ideas very rarely match the confidence with which they pitch them.
Yeah.
Almost everybody I know that, like, is authentically talented at something is very bad at, like, advocating for themselves about it. Which isn't to say, like, oh, you need to not be able to talk yourself up. I think it's just that Dunning-Kruger thing, right? I think if you're somebody who cares enough about a thing to get good at it, it means enough to you that you are super critical of yourself. Uh-oh. Stream didn't go down, did it? Oh, no!
You were just like my Discord a second ago.
I left your Discord? Hang on.
No, you just lagged. You've been
lagged? Okay, it looks like it came back.
Oh.
I don't know what that was about. Dropped 760 frames? Yeah, my upload speed just like zeroed out for a second and then came back. Nobody said anything about it stopping, so I don't know.
Huh.
Stream dropped for me for a moment. Okay, yeah. My internet just like zeroed out for a second, but now it's back up to 5,000 kilobytes, so I don't know. Don't know what happened, but it looks like it's back. When I worked in the restaurant, I stood up to the new owner who was doing shady things. I ended up having to leave, which wasn't ideal, but years later, having done the right thing, setting for the rest of the staff still feels good, and I must have forgotten the stress of having to find a new job quick. Yeah. Restaurant culture can be super toxic, too. I just stopped being polite and told people I didn't do contract work after a couple years. Yeah. It's like Tinder for health insurance. Oh, God. It's a real difficult thing. I've had to train myself to accept pretending to be confident I can do things in order to get the contracts. That's been a big thing with the stuff I do at Dwarven Forge, right? Because I still have to, like, act like, I have to act like I know what I'm talking about. So far, I haven't, like, majorly screwed anything up. The company still exists, so we're doing all right.
That's a good sign.
But yeah, every time I pitch an idea, I'm definitely very worried about it because I'm not used to being in a position where like I'm affecting a company's bottom line. I'm not used to my decisions having any kind of ripple effect.
Well, I wasn't used to people listening to my ideas in a job.
That's also incredibly valid.
I'm still working on that. I'm like, when something comes up, I'm like,
It is wild how much you doubt yourself, specifically when it comes to your paint jobs. Because yeah, you're always worried that like your painting's not going to be good, and it's like, dude, you've never missed. Like, yeah, you have to adjust things now and then, whatever. But like, you're more than competent.
Oh, thanks, man.
More than competent is the greatest compliment I can give, honestly. I just think it's that thing where, like, yeah, like you're passionate about it, so because of that, you're hypercritical of yourself because you know you care about it.
Right.
I think that's a very real thing for a lot of people in pretty much every creative field. Almost every actor I know that, like, the best actors I know are always the ones that, like, felt like they didn't work hard enough to deserve it, whatever. And I'm like, you're working harder than anybody else I know at the moment. I don't know what you're talking about. Or they feel like they don't. Man, I went to high school with this girl who was authentically talented enough. Like, I know, whatever, like high school theater, blah blah blah, but like, genuinely, like beyond high school theater levels.
Sure.
She's probably one of the most talented actresses I've ever met. I've ever met, even being out here for years.
Awesome.
And she wouldn't let herself pursue it because she felt like she didn't respect the craft enough, because she also liked doing other art as well. And I've never met anybody who respected the craft as much as her since. And it's like it's because you respect the craft that, like, you have thoughts like this, because almost nobody else does.
Right.
Like, it's weird. It's a weird and wild world, man.
Indeed.
Imposter syndrome is real? Yep. Certainly is, dude.
Well, I remember when I came in for my interview and stuff, like I heard, people had come in that were like art students, like studying traditional art and stuff, and I had sent in a muted video of me showing my models in high school that I ripped off my old YouTube channel. So, I was like, oh man, like, the air quotes real artists were being interviewed, and there was me.
That's definitely that's a huge source of imposter syndrome for me. Is like I never went to film school or anything. Like all video and tech stuff that I do is self-taught. So like there's definitely like a very real anxiety about whether I actually know what I'm doing most of the time.
Right.
But like, I don't know. You just gotta kind of do it, like.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I suppose.
You took a big gamble on docs, Chris. Yeah, that was like with that conversation. I had to be like, no, we will sell a ton of these if you restock them. Trust me. And it was like I really hope that we'll sell a ton of them. Now I got to do that with the cave cliffs. Got to be like, look, people want this. Trust me. That's the thing, is it's having to go in and it's having to say with confidence, like, I know what the people want. And then hoping that the numbers actually reflect that. Because if we order like hundreds of sets of something and it doesn't sell, that's kind of a problem, you know?
Yeah.
It's why it's why our restocking has been so conservative in the past. But
right.
I don't know.
Well, that's my where my nerves come from with like the new war game sets, because they're like trying to hit a brand new group and do something brand new, and it's all kind of an experiment. You don't really know how it's going to turn out, but you want it to do well. But if it doesn't, you kind of put it on yourself.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest gambles we're taking, right?
Yeah.
Is we're saying like, hey, if we strike out into wargaming stuff and into sci-fi, it will pay off. Like,
right.
There is demand for these things. It is worth it for us to go and pursue this, you know?
Right.
It's stressful. I get that. But I think we know. I think the nice thing is, I feel like we're able to approach this stuff enough as like people who actually want to use it, that we're not completely detached from what's actually helpful for people and what they actually want. You know?
Right. Yeah.
I think that's the big thing.
Well, it's kind of the perk of
ships.
That's kind of the perk of it being a place where people will be listening to, because of, like, if there is a flag, someone will flag it usually, you know, like everyone gets their eyes on it if we have a new idea usually. So
for real, cave cliffs are the only thing in caverns I really think is left that I really want. Well, yeah, and I think especially they play well with a lot of things. So here's what I think happens with a lot of sets, and it's something we've been trying to address. Is there's a lot of things that are really cool that we did a very bad job explaining or highlighting when the Kickstarter was happening, and getting people to understand, because we do so much with these sets, you know, like
yeah,
when like Dungeons and Lasers does a thing where like a room is really just 6 sculpts, it's so easy to look at and understand what every sculpt there does. But we go so big with these Kickstarters and everything that we're talking about, like, I don't know what, like on average like 150 to 200 pieces.
yeah, yeah.
And some of them have like all the, especially with Wildlands, where like everything had like 5,000 different ways it could combine with other pieces. Like,
yeah.
So after doing Wildlands, for like definitely, like, part of it was looking at and going like, okay, so when we go into the cities, what can we do to communicate this stuff more clearly? And I've got an action plan that I think will help with that, because it sucks when people don't understand how versatile like a set is. And like the cave cliffs are really super useful for a lot of things, but I think when you just look at them at the store and there's no real language or examples of how to use them or anything, I think it's hard to understand why the cave cliffs are a cool pack. I feel like you either need to see them demoed or see somebody use them in a cool way, or get your hands on them a little bit yourself, and then you can go like, oh no, I can actually do like a lot with this. This is actually like really cool. And that's the kind of stuff we're trying to figure out how to combat, you know? I mentioned this yesterday on OTA, but more/better picks of all the pieces would go a long way, I think. That's also something we're working on. The problem is we have so many sets.
So much backlog to like fix old stuff too, like.
Yeah. And so at the same time that we're trying to focus on all this stuff, you know, coming up, we're trying to also address all the stuff in the past that we didn't take care of. Because the store and everything was just neglected for so long through like everything. It was like we do the Kickstarter, we throw this stuff up on the store, and then we forget about it, we move on to the next Kickstarter. And,
right.
And like, we can only do that for so long, because eventually we're going to run out of Kickstarters we can do, right? Eventually we're not going to have like... Eventually we're going to run out of like set ideas that are completely new geometry and completely new biomes and everything. And we're going to need to like actually have our existing stuff sell.
Right.
And so we're trying to like go back and retroactively do all that now, but it takes a while to do it, because there's thousands of pieces at this point, thousands of sets and stuff we gotta address.
It's hard because, like, from some of the old stuff, it's like employees have changed. Like, it's no one's fault. Like, people have come and gone. The projects have changed hands. We've tried new things. Like, so now it's just a matter of like getting it all into shape on the same page.
Yeah. But no, we're constantly looking at like all the stuff people are asking for, and all that feedback everybody gave at the stream last night about how we can do restocks better, and then what kind of stuff you guys want to see on the sites. Like, part of what I did today was I broke all that down into some action items and put them in like in the groups for like the respective people who are like working in those areas, so that we can look at it and figure out how to accomplish all these things. There should be a video for each and every set in a Kickstarter. Oh, I don't know if we can do each and every set. Like, that's so many. I think that we can break it down into... I think we can break it down in ways that are better and more efficient and cover more areas, for sure. And that's part of what like the action plan going into the next Kickstarter is gonna be, is just coming up with an idea of like, okay, what is every single thing, what is every feature, what is every compatibility issue, like what is everything that we should hit at some point in this Kickstarter, and then make sure that all of it gets on like a calendar of like making sure like that everything gets talked about and touched on, and like we show it off on stream, and we have a video for it, and we have a social post go out highlighting those things, and then the next day or like every week or something we do a roundup of all the stuff we covered in the last week where it's all broken down in like a digestible thing, and like if we organize it enough and we're ahead of it enough, we can like, I don't know. We just need to be. We need to stop putting ourselves on the back foot for no reason during a Kickstarter. It'll be easier on us and it'll be more efficient. And I think we're taking steps to do that. But yeah. Main point is, for the foreseeable future, both me and Hamster are going to be here.
Oh yeah.
Because we're passionate about it. This is stuff that we care about. It's not the ultimate thing that we want out of our lives. It's not we're getting like the ultimate fulfillment. But man, it sure beats most other work.
Well, it's kind of what you said. It's like you don't really know these jobs are out there when you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, I want to work at Dwarven Forge. It's like, you don't know these things exist, really.
Nobody knows that this stuff exists. Because why should it? I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, you think about... You don't think about the fact that, yeah, I guess somebody had to make this stuff, right?
Well, right, yeah. And you don't think about that, like, you could be someone who does that. Like, I remember the first time that I saw the awesome photography with pieces I painted, I was like, these look like the photos that inspired me to even start the hobby. Just like seeing images, cool staged images with painted miniatures and terrain, everything. Like, that's what inspired me, and that's what keeps me going, really. Like, a lot of times when we're in the heat of a Kickstarter, I'm real, I get to that point, I'm frustrated, there's been blood, sweat, and tears, I'm like, why the heck do we even do this? And then I see everything in a build or in a video with the cool effects and the fog, and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And I just forget all of the stress until it comes again. But
yeah, I was talking to Nate about it, but like I feel kind of weird. I feel like I'm one of the only people that like actually misses the Kickstarter. Like I actually like both Hellscape and Wildlands. Like I really love when the Kickstarter is going.
Yeah.
Like I get a lot of, I don't get drained by it. I get a lot of energy from the Kickstarter process.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense.
I think it's just that I don't know. One of my favorite things is just working on a massive project with a large group of people and like pulling off something that's bigger than what you could do by yourself. You know, like it feels like accomplishing like a big thing. It's why I like plays. It's why I like filmmaking. There's just like this really big rush to it for me, and the Kickstarters kind of give me that rush. So like I don't dread the Kickstarters approaching. I get very excited about them.
I do see that appeal. Like that's kind of the appeal of like doing theater, doing films in any capacity. Is like there's always a new show and a new cast and new crew and a new group. And for us, we have the new set coming up, and it's going to be a totally new process in every respect. Mm-hmm. You know, from what you're going to do on stream, what we can do on video. Never mind, even the actual terrain itself will be completely different. So it keeps it fresh for sure. Yeah.
Shrine Stool isn't really that expensive when you consider the number of unique sculpts in it and the large number of LED pieces. Yeah, dude, fighting against the price perception is also like one of the biggest things we need to do. Because it's interesting, you can make comparisons between other stuff that's out there, and like, honestly, our stuff isn't actually that much more expensive than like the equivalent amount of ground coverage for a lot of other stuff out there, especially when you factor in the painted aspect. You know, if you compare like our painted prices to other people's like unpainted prices, it's one thing. But like if you compare pre-painted to pre-painted or unpainted to unpainted, were usually not actually that much more expensive. But there's just that initial sticker shock. I think because we always sell things in... It's because we try to make these big, impressive, like, we always try to make these, like, big, impressive, like, showy things, and those always have, like, big price tags attached to them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is also people not understanding the size of pieces. I think is a big thing as well. That's something we saw with Wildlands a lot, is when people actually saw, like... When they actually see them, like, in hand and everything, and like, oh, wait, no, this is actually massive. I think that also helps.
And, you know, updated pictures of everything. It's like, especially from one picture to the next, especially the Kickstarter images, if you have two sets right next to each other, one of them could be this giant castle or something. But if it's next to a picture and they kind of look like the same size, it's really hard to decipher that stuff if it's not done carefully.
Yeah.
And people have even said, this is why I miss conventions too, is like, you're talking about the price, they're like, man, they see just kind of a picture of it on the internet, they're like, I don't get it, but when they see it in person, it's like, holy smokes, like, this is just so much more than I even thought.
Well, it's why it's cool to work on, right? Like, that's what we like working on it, is like, there's stuff that... And we're having to keep an eye on it, because it's also not a thing where, like, everybody else's stuff sucks or anything. But it's just that other people are doing, like, really, really incredible work in the field. It's just, we've decided that we're going to be the company that, like, does everything, like, analog and hand-sculpted and, like, does all these, like, special effects. And that comes with a price tag, just because, like, the process and everything is expensive.
Right.
But I don't know, it annoys me when somebody on Facebook will say, like, you can get the same stuff way cheaper from this person, and it's like some kind of 3D printed stuff, and I'm like, it's not the same product. Like, we're making a different product. Like, it's not even like their thing's bad. Their thing isn't bad. It's just it's a different product than what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's hard. Like you said, when people compare it to the thing that is meant to be the really budget thing, and like we're trying to be the really premier thing, you know.
And even then, we're still trying to keep it as cheap as possible. Like,
it's always doing what we do with the most affordable price possible. Yeah. But what we do is not what those other people are doing that they're comparing to. So it can be frustrating, but
yeah.
So it goes.
Somehow I'm not as pumped for Cities 2.0 yet, partly because I haven't seen a finished building / set. A lot of the concerns that I've seen on the forums in particular, I think have largely come from the fact that, like, you know, what you're looking at isn't finished stuff. You're looking at prototypes, not even prototypes. You're looking at, like, mock-ups. You're looking at essentially just raw geometry that hasn't been arranged into anything cool yet, and is in the process of, like, finding flaws and poking at it and all that. Some people looked at it and they're like, this looks so bad. And it's like, this is what all the Kickstarters that you love looked like initially. You've just never seen them before. Like,
right.
It's just, this is the first time that you're seeing stuff this early. I know people have been saying they want to see, like, streams kind of like when Nate was making the waterfalls and stuff like that, and it's like, we're just authentically not even that far in the process yet.
Right, like the air quotes bad stuff that you see, all the clumpy stuff, like that is as far as that's where we're at, and that's where it always starts.
But then once we get to the part where they actually start sculpting it, and then they take those, like, ugly shapes and they make them into something, like, really cool, that's when it starts getting really cool to look at. And then you see it finished and you see it arranged into things, and it's wild.
Right.
I don't know. So I think it's the potential downside to us being it's the potential downside to us being, like, really open about it. Is that means that we're showing people this stuff at its worst when we've never done that before, because we've always waited to show it to them, like, once it's actually, like, a cool looking final product.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's I'm trying to keep an eye on it, because if we show if it seems like it's actually hurting us at some point, then we need to reevaluate how we're doing it. So
Yeah.
far, I haven't felt like it's actually like hurting things yet.
Sure.
But yeah. I think it's hard to visualize where the 2x2 floors and the Shrine of Sewell has a small, like, times 27 or whatever next to it. It's easy for my mind to not really consider how much that really is. That's fair. All pictures of sets need to be on a table with a mini or two for one scale, and Nate or someone standing behind it for the other scale. I think that's something that we want to do moving forward. I think something we try to do with Wildlands. It's hard with some of the sets to do stuff like that, but for most of the things that have at least like floor pieces, it would be nice if we had kind of just like, this is the amount of coverage you get, you know?
Yeah, we've talked about doing like the scale mini or whatever. I mean, the really the hardest thing is like, we agree with you. We would love to update absolutely everything, but there's always a million fires going on. You know, like there's always something that we're doing, and we're like, oh, we also should try to do X, and it's like, well, sometimes you gotta pick which thing you're gonna do, you know. So
yeah,
it's like that way.
I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that the person who does our pictures is also the person who designs the lead like paint schemes for like the bread and butter pieces.
Yeah.
So, you know, Erin does all of our photos. She also is working on coming up with all the paint schemes for KS8 right now.
Right. So like some weeks she's like, hey, I can do a bunch of photos, and in those cases we're gonna get a bunch of photos. And then the next week it's like, oh, we have a bunch of stuff to paint. We're getting no photos. You know?
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
So it is something we're working on, but this is one of those realities of like, you know, we're a very small company. There's only a couple of us, and we're all wearing a lot of different hats.
Yeah. That's also part of the fun of it.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, she's we updated a couple photos recently, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it is something we've been working on, but it's just going to take time to get through all of them, because there's a lot of stuff there, and a lot of it is also like us figuring out with these reconfigurations, like what things do we actually need to update, and which things are just going to be replaced, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's not going to be not participate in the KS. You're just worried about it being fiddly. That's the thing, and there was somebody else who said, like, I don't understand why they're doing this after Wildlands showed that you could just do, like, these big things and drop them down and all that, and I'm like, it's just... The reality is it's an entirely different system, right? It all looks fiddly right now. It is going to be more fiddly than Wildlands, for sure. It's just the nature of the fact that you're not dropping huge rocks on a table, you're trying to build interiors, and that means that you've got all these different pieces that need to go together. But the reason that we're doubling down on these systems is, once it's all put together, assuming that everything works, assuming that the geometry all checks out, assuming that we don't run into any issues with any of these systems working, you're going to be able to do stuff that you've never been able to build in any way before with any other system. That's the stuff that I'm really excited about. Like, our initial CPS, like, it's got some good stuff to it. It's got some issues. I think the main thing is that the initial CBS was approached as, we need a way to put cities together. Whereas I think the approach here is much more like, okay, we know how you put cities together. We know how you put basic buildings together. How do we enhance like what you can do in cities and all these systems that we have going on? We've been talking about them for a while, and I think once you see them all in action, it's going to be... I don't know. There's going to be some really, really cool stuff that we talked about like what potential builds can be and all that, and it's going to be awesome when you see it all together, I think. Wasn't a complaint you don't have that, just an idea for those who don't know Dwarven Forge as well and don't come on these streams where anytime they can ask, hey, can we see X, and you'll show it live there, and then if you got it available. Yeah. Now, that's the thing, though, is like, essentially what happened is, over the last like year and a half, there's been a lot of discussions about like, hey, we need to go back and do like the 10 years of store maintenance that never happened, and
Yeah.
going back and doing that. Once we get caught up on it, it's going to be not that hard to do.
Oh yeah.
It's just the fact that we need to get caught up. And
Yeah. Once we're in it and we know like how we want it to look and be done, it'll be a breeze. But it's just all the backlog.
yeah, the backlog is not great. City builds that have been posted lately are amazing. Yeah, so that's the thing. CBS is absolutely more fiddly than like Tabletop World or whatever. But the point is, I don't know. How do you have a more modular, or how do you have a modular system that lets you do all the things that CBS does that isn't fiddly? A lot of people want us to go back and do MBS, but if we did that, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of this stuff. A lot of people are asking for like cathedrals. We wouldn't be able to make a cool cathedral with MBS. Like we just wouldn't be able to, you know? So that's the thing, is it's kind of coming in and fully realizing some of the concepts that, you know, were started with CBS, but weren't really finished, I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what a good color for like a lioness's coat would be.
Like a fur coat, or it's a anthropomorphic person wearing a coat?
No, it is just straight up an actual lion.
Oh.
Is something like a cathedral on the table for KS8? Or if I want to do that, do I need to go back and get castle/old city stuff? I don't know what the hero buildings are planned to be. I know that the way we're approaching it is we're focusing on we're focusing on building blocks, and we're trying to get as many building blocks as possible that will let us do the greatest variety of cool like hero buildings that we can do. I don't know what we're going to end up making as those hero buildings.
I mean, also too, like, if you want a cathedral, just think of like how long it will be till you get the KS8 one. You know what I mean? Like, even if it comes ASAP, you're looking at a long time. So it still wouldn't be a bad idea to get a hold of some older sets like castles and that could make a cool cathedral, because you're still gonna be able to use that for a long time before you would get KS8 stuff in your hands. You know.
You can technically make a cathedral with existing sets. We've seen a couple people do that. What I will say is we do, assuming something doesn't drastically change for some reason, we do know that fancy stone is going to be one of the building materials. And so
yeah.
Odds are that's probably going to be the best looking thing for a cathedral that we put out. Because the existing cathedrals that I've seen have used like stone/castle walls. Which is a look, you know. You can make like an old abbey and stuff like that. But I think the fancy stone is going to be the best fit thing that we make aesthetically to make a cathedral. Okay. I see what I got to do here. Yeah, I know how to do this. Need some contractors that flush the backlog. We might at some point. I don't know. But currently we're trying to make sure that, you know, we've expanded the team and all that, and with all the stuff that we're doing, we're kind of spending more money than we ever have right now, just because we're making all the reconfigurations and all that jazz. So we gotta be careful about our spending as we do all this. We're trying to balance it. That's why these reconfigurations are focusing on bread and butter, you know? Like, we gotta focus on the stuff that we feel like we're gonna make our money back on at first, and then these new core sets do well, that makes it easier for us to then go and make new molds to do more specialized sets and bring back some of those like specialty pieces. I don't know. I think we're on a good track, though. Yesterday's, like, our restock yesterday was, like, one of our best... Apparently, it was one of our best, like, sales days of all time. So
Oh, wow.
That's what Jay was saying. So, I think the stuff that we're doing is working, you know?
Yeah.
So, we just gotta keep pushing.
Yep.
But I think we're going in the right direction. At least in terms of number of orders.
Sure.
I asked for, I don't know if he got around to posting it. I was curious. I asked like what the best-selling stuff was, because I would like to see it. Because I hope I hope docs are number one. I'm gonna feel so vindicated if docs are number one. But yeah. Seems you guys have been saying that every restock day lately, which is good to hear. Yeah. Docs are almost half sold out. Are we down to like into 200s already on docs? Because I think we started with like I think we put in 500. But it might have been split. It might have been 500 split between painted and unpainted. But we had like at least 450 painted docs.
Wow.
They're at 270? Man, that's so good. Docs are selling like crazy. Well, because what's really good about the docs for restocking is they're a set that it makes sense to get multiple of. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Which is like one of the issues when we're talking about like the Stairway to Violence and Pedestal of Pain. Is with those sets, it's like people really only need one. So are we going to be able to sell them in high multiples? It's with like the big set pieces like that. It's hard to figure out, you know. But docs, like, the more docs you have, the like crazier builds you can do with them. You can do like these cool extended things. Like we used like 6 doc builds in the game over the weekend. 6 doc. We used like 6 or 7 doc sets, and we were able to like do this like really cool extended like dock area, and it looked rad. But you know, we needed multiple sets to do that. Which I don't think is a bad thing. Because even one dock set is still useful.
Right.
Need a better base for this line. How many dock sets is a good number to have, would you say? Depends on what you're wanting to do. So, I believe each dock piece, like the actual dock piece itself, is 2x4, I think, and you get 2 of them in the dock pack. So you can make a 2x8 dock. So if you want to do, so you're gonna need 2 sets if you want to be able to make a dock that covers like one whole side of a terrain tray. Yeah. Depends. So yeah, it depends on what you're trying to do. I'm still learning like what pigments will actually stick well and which ones are kind of gonna end up feeling kind of like a wash, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it depends on the brand too sometimes.
Yeah. Which side is which side? Oh, Chris is on the left, Hamster's on the right. Holding off on docs because I'm not sure how they'll fit with Kickstarter scaffolding. That's fair. They should stay in stock for a while. Like, we sold over half of them, but, like, you know, it's going to be... That rush is going to be front-loaded, right? So, like, they're probably going to sell slower moving forward. They should integrate well. What they use paired pegs, so they're gonna have a different aesthetic to them, for sure. The docks are making in KS8. The plan is for them to be thinner. I think they're gonna look less run down because they're meant to be like docks that are in a dock/scaffolding that are in a civilization. However, I can't imagine us making them in a way where they wouldn't be able to intermingle, you know? You should be able to have them both on the table and have it look fine. That backwards compatibility is like kind of a big thing for us. Chelsea is so excited because she gets to cat sit for Tyler while he's on vacation.
Oh, nice.
She's talking about how she's gonna become like the cat's best friends and all that. It's gonna take her time. She went to meet them yesterday, but they're both skittish around new people, so they were hiding from her like yesterday. But I told her she just needs to go sit there like all weekend while Tyler's gone, and they'll get used to her.
Yep.
Picked up a pack of docks in my order and think it's likely I'll add another one to my next one. That's fair. Hope docks are still around when diagonals come into stock. Are diagonals set for the next restock? Are they set for the July restock?
I have no idea what's on the next one.
I wasn't asking you.
Oh. Good, because I don't know.
Well, let me check the list real quick.
There's a...
Yeah, there's a list.
I didn't know it was set already.
You work customer service. Yeah, he updated the restock list on the site last night.
Oh, last night. Okay, get off my back.
He also posted it in the Slack. So.
Oh, all right. I missed that.
I'm not seeing the diagonals in the next restock. Are they planned for fall? Oh, the new Vaulted Dungeon core set's planned for fall though. That has some diagonals in it. I do like the docks. I also picked up the Grabblecast docks. Dwarven Forge are better quality, of course, but they play well together. I think the nice thing about docks is, like, the idea that, like, different docks have been built over time works in most cases. Unless you're in, like, a very put-together part of... like, a very put-together, like, capital city or something where they would have things, like, super well-maintained. I think it's usually very easy to justify different-looking docks next to each other. Because, like, they were built at different times. Maybe this one's, like, more run down or whatever. Didn't see diagonals on the current list, so I'm guessing it's winter. Yeah. I feel like we've... I wonder if we forgot to put it... Because I feel like we ordered that set specifically. I'll need to check on it after the stream. Can you say what's in the dungeon core sets? I actually don't know the final composition. Because when we talked about it on the anvil, it was still being worked on. Chuck was still, like, ironing out the specific compositions. And I'm not sure where it wound up at. So unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't have that information. But I can get it. There's a lot of stuff I would like to know that I don't currently know. There's just so many things at once.
Yeah.
I kind of just wound up painting a couple things. I did the myconids. I did this little quokka-looking animal.
Yeah, I've just been picking away. Okay.
Oh, he might be a mongoose. He's probably a mongoose.
Ooh. I've currently been trying to, because I used a random assortment of paints like the Goldens, and some of them are kind of glossy, like to the point where like painting over it is odd. So I saw a random spray can on my desk that says matte varnish, but it's looking pretty glossy.
Honestly, dude, that mini looks really good.
Oh, thank you.
Was there a plan for this one, or just for fun?
No, because I was kind of impromptu. How am I gonna do this in the office? I pulled out a bunch of the old Reaper paints from an old set that we had when I started, and I squirted them all out on the palette and started going.
Nice. Wait,
it was kind of fun.
I worry what you just heard was give me a lot of diagonals. What I said was give me all the diagonals that you have.
That was pretty good.
You know what? For somebody who does not have a low voice, that was not the worst Ron Swanson. Dude, how cool would it be, one, if Nick Offerman plays TTRPGs? I have no idea if he does. But two, if we could get Nick Offerman to play on a stream.
Oh my god.
How good would that be? That'd be one of the best possible like celebrity guests we could pull.
Yeah.
He'd be incredible.
That'd be great.
Let's see. I'm sure he does. Right? Like it's so many celebrities like play. It's not even funny. I find with matte varnishes, it's really important to make sure they're very fully mixed / shaken before use.
Yeah, so remember we were talking about how we don't want to put effort into things? I didn't do that the first shake around.
Him and his wife would be a chaotic duo, and oh my god, they would. Him and Megan Mullally would be like, that'd be incredible. It'd be kind of some Travis and Laura energy, except I feel like it's slightly different. Like they're obviously not one-to-one who Travis and Laura are, but I feel like they would have interactions that are kind of similar. I did LARP back in the 90s. It was all drama kids. That's fair. He has likely at least played, if not still plays. I wonder if it's got to have been confirmed somewhere, right? I feel like, we're so past the Satanic Panic stuff at this point that I feel like a lot of celebrities have just embraced whether or not they like if they play at this point.
Right.
Jeff Goldblum is doing a tabletop show. Like,
wait, really?
Yeah, you missed that? Oh, because you're in Minnesota where they don't have the news.
I was in the middle of the lake.
Yeah. Jeff Goldblum did a tabletop show.
That's cool.
I joke that certain movies / shows are D&D shows, which I mean that it seems obvious the writers' room are obviously basing stuff off their D&D games / characters. That's, probably not a bad. It's probably not a bad assessment for a lot of dudes, if I'm being real. Go. Let's get that in there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure matte varnishes are just like, because the gloss in the varnish is what protects stuff. It's like the hard shell. So I'm pretty sure it's just like the same varnish with a matte agent in it. And so if you don't mix it, you're just gonna spray out regular gloss.
I feel like matte varnish would be like a great name for like some kind of action hero.
Matte varnish.
Matte varnish.
What the heck? What would his powers? What would his thing be?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's about.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think a good. I'm trying to think of like a good like Arnold like action hero line that like makes some kind of play off of what varnishes are. Matt Varnish is like a low rent Hollywood agent. Yeah, and a hitman at night, you know?
Right. There you go.
What if Agent 47 is like actually like a talent agent?
Agent 47, and somehow I ended up here.
That's where he gets his code name.
That's funny.
He's killing high-profile targets so that documentaries will get made about them and he can get his actors cast.
Hey, there you go. A little bit of a roundabout strategy, but all right.
I mean, you know, dude, every time there's like a high-profile assassination, there's like 30 documentaries made about it, you know?
True. I won't get you one job. I'm gonna get you 28 jobs.
I like I'll be shellac. Matt Varnish diffuses other powers and effects.
Hey, there you go.
Matt Varnish, not the hero character, protects less well than... Oh, he's actually talking about Matt Varnish here. Protects less well than gloss. I still coat with gloss varnish first, then a second coat of matte or satin when appropriate for the final stage. I really need to get a better understanding of finishes, honestly.
Well, I definitely like to varnish my gaming stuff, but sometimes, I don't know, if it's like a display thing, I don't want to varnish it, because sometimes it's cool to have different finishes on things, you know? Like, based on what the material that you're trying to paint is, like leather or fabric or whatever.
Yeah. At some point, I need to just line up everything I've painted and just spray it all at once.
It's not a bad idea.
Let's see. Just bought some lacquer varnish for the first time. Gonna give that a go on some gaming minis.
Lacquer varnish, okay.
Anyone varnish Dwarvenite? Varnish your Hellscape. Apparently, Hellscape is the set that has issues with paint chipping.
Oh.
Apparently.
The transparent stuff, maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know.
That might actually be why? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I haven't had any issues with it. Granted, I also haven't used it yet. I've just been painting it. Because if I want to use Hellscape, I'll use the Hellscape at the office.
Right.
Like... I've had a few chips you've had to touch up. Interesting. I wonder why Hellscape specifically. Might use the lacquer on that. I hardly know her.
Jeez.
Nice.
Well, I think I'm about ready to do the victory lap around the base on this guy.
Nice. I might just finish my Linus. I'm figuring out... All the paints I'm using on this ended up being very sticky and wet and take a while to dry. They all kind of feel more like washes than paint, you know? Which kind of frustrating. I've used... I'm trying to find a good yellow to put on it.
Oh, it's yellow? Yeah. Sounds right. What you're saying about finicky pigments? Yeah. Yellow's up.
Yellows are rough, dude.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go back and add different finishes to different things on a mini with varnishes. A lot of my Hellscape that I painted is chipped. I recently got the trifecta pieces and tried doing the white base with Vallejo surface primer, hoping that holds up better. That's literally what this is what I use to prime. Oh, wait.
Oh.
That's not the camera I'm using. Yeah. Is it literally this primer? Because that's what I use.
That's the primer I have, yeah.
Well, I got it off of Aaron's recommendation, so I'm assuming I'm just using whatever gets used at the office.
Yeah, but even at home, that's what I have as black and gray Vallejo.
You know, I've heard good things about Vallejo.
Yeah. If anyone has tried Steinel Res, I've heard good things about that too. I've been meaning to try that primer. If anyone in the chat has had good results with that. Because what I'll say is when I airbrush Vallejo, I don't know if all primers in general do this, but it'll start to dry in a little film in the cup, which can cause it to clog. So because we'll get little bits. But that might just be what makes primer, because it's like plastic.
White primer is the bane of my existence. Yep, I'm not a fan, honestly. I always prefer priming in black if I can.
Yeah, definitely.
White primer does not like to stay.
If I want it lighter, I'll usually just prime it black and like do inks or paint over it to base it gray or white.
Black or dark gray for me. Yeah. White primer is also too chunky. That's fair. Alright, Dwarvenites, I'm off to get some food. If I don't eat soon, I'm going to end up roaming the countryside terrorizing the villagers. Nice! That sounds more fun than eating, if I'm being completely honest. I have one very specific horse in this race, and that's wanting the best story possible. So I actually would like for you to roam the countryside. Right primer is for doing washes for things like skeletons. That makes sense. Still, I want it to work the way I want it to work. Ugh. My color temperature is off on this camera. Oh well. Man. You been gaming lately?
Honestly, not a lot. I mean, obviously not on my trip. But, yeah, I don't know. I've been gaming less. I still need to freaking launch Valheim.
Oh, you never even started it?
I haven't started it.
Miles and I haven't touched it for a while. It's been like a month. It's because he's been playing modded Skyrim instead.
That's always fun to go back to with mods.
Skyrim is the best game that the devs didn't make. You know?
That is a good and accurate way to put it.
Like all the great stuff I hear about it is other people having gone and made it good, you know?
Right.
I put like 20 hours into Skyrim when it came out and then got bored. And I just haven't, I've never gone back.
Yeah. I saw someone doing, they came out with a mod for Dark Souls 3 that added a bunch of classes and stuff too that look kind of cool.
I can't wait to play Skyrim on the next gen consoles while waiting for ES6. Dude, that and GTA 5. GTA 5 is going to be on 10 different consoles before Grand Theft Auto 6 ever happens.
Yeah, that's true.
They're going to find a way to get GTA 5 on the WonderSwan before they bother making GTA 6. Jason Schreier? You won't get GTA 6, you can't convince me otherwise? Watch them do, like, the next one is like a reboot that changes the numbering system. So we actually never get GTA 6, they just go back to, like... They do, like, they do, like, a Tomb Raider, you know? GTA 6 goes back to the top-down perspective. They just make it dots. They go back to you're just a bunch of dots.
Dots.
I have a ton of hours in Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout, etc., and never completed the main story quest to any of them. For some reason, it's weird. I love RPGs and I love games with like just a checklist of things to like do and like endless content. It's kind of a problem. I play too many forever games. But like for some reason, Western RPGs don't usually do it for me. Like I can't do Skyrim, I can't do Fallout. Fallout 76 is surprisingly good. Like honestly, like, you know, there was the whole mess with all that jazz. But like it actually does environmental storytelling really, really well. And I was kind of surprised about it. I started playing it with some friends. And it might just be that because I'm playing it with friends, but I don't know. But honestly, the stuff where you're playing with other people is worse than the stuff where you're playing on your own. and I find it more engaging than any of the actual single-player Fallouts.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. I kind of ignored it after the initial reviews.
I only got it because it was like $10, and Will really wanted us to play it with him.
But I do get, sometimes in those games, I just really get swallowed up in the side quests, like all the little tiny weird stories in the corners of the world. There's like this whole odd chain, and all of a sudden you've spent hours on it.
Outer Worlds is the first Western RPG game in a while that I got close to finishing. There's just too much bloat in Western RPGs. Well, it's just I don't care about adding scope for the sake of adding scope, I guess. But for some reason, it works for me in the JRPG structure more than the Western RPG structure, and I don't know why. I think because Western RPGs tend to focus on, like, you're just traveling across this field by yourself. I don't know. Stealth and archery ruined Skyrim for me. Oblivion crafting 100% in Viz armor ruined it. Well, I mean, I did like Oblivion more than Skyrim. Mostly because I felt like it was more ridiculous. JRPGs focus a lot more on characters, I suppose. It's weird, though. I usually don't think the writing in JRPGs is all that good. There are some that are phenomenal. But there's a lot that just focus on, like, external conflict that I have a hard time getting invested in. I don't remember the last time I cared about a character in a Western RPG. I need to play Disco Elysium.
Oh, I have that one too. I've heard good things about that.
I've had it installed for so long, and I just haven't actually played it. I need to. Mass Effect probably. True. Mass Effect is one of the best Western RPGs. Actually, Mass Effect is very, very good. Mass Effect 2 is like, that's an achievement, dude. The level that they get you to care about each of the characters is, I think that's the largest cast I've seen where they managed to make all of them, like, rewarding characters. Watching people read that game. Yeah, Mass Effect 2 is probably one of my favorite games of all time. It's very, very good. And then I got a lot of issues with 3.
Well, didn't they change the ending?
They changed the ending, which is... the ending isn't really, like, my main issue with it. Honestly, the thing that upsets me the most is what they did DLC-wise.
Oh, yeah.
They did this DLC that adds a Prothean as a character that you can get. And so it's the storyline, you know, it adds this quest on a thing where you're rushing to get the stuff before the bad guys do, and you get to, like, the thing that they're going after, and it's a Prothean that's, like, been preserved or whatever, and he joins your crew. But the thing is, so it's really obnoxious, because what happened is the idea of finding a Prothean is massive and has, like, just these huge consequences for the series, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, this race is supposed to be extinct. It should be, like, a massive, huge deal.
Yeah.
But because they made it DLC, it couldn't be a big enough deal that, like, it's actually involved in the main plot in any way.
Right.
And the game still has to function perfectly fine if you don't buy the DLC for it. So you do this whole thing and you get this Prothean crew member, and then all he does is sit on your ship, and he has, like, 2 lines that he'll say, and there's no actual story exploration or any reaction to the fact that you found a Prothean. That, like, they do nothing with it, and it has, like, no context, and it's like, this just feels like a bait. Like, it just feels like, you know, you're using the fact that, like, oh man, a Prothean would be really cool to sell DLC, but then the Prothean couldn't actually be cool because he's not in the base game. Yeah. I don't know. 3 probably still has the moments that stuck with you the most. The thing is, all the moments that 3 had that were really cool were just cashing in on the work that 2 did. That's the thing for me. I don't feel like anything that 3 built up and established, any of the plot lines that they started in 3, are nearly as rewarding as them just wrapping up story threads that they started into. Like, yeah, someone else might have gotten it wrong thing is incredible. And, like, I quote that all the time. That is a phenomenal sequence. But all of the work for that was done in 2. 3 is just cashing in on the work that happened in 2. And like everything too, like not just with him, but with Rex as well. All of Rex's work was done in earlier games. And I'm actually really annoyed. Like, I actually really don't like what they did with Thane, because they, like, the way that they kill Thane, like, feels like it feels so set up and feels like It feels so set up, and it feels like a thing where it's like, okay, we're gonna set up a situation where this guy dies, and then it's a situation where you just watch him die when you could have done something to stop it. Like, it's dumb and manipulative. I don't know. That is what the final chapter of a trilogy is supposed to do, though, right? And that's the thing, and they do some of it successfully. But then they do some of it bad, and the new stuff that they start up doesn't go well. And Thane was the only character I lost because I failed his side quest in 2. Yeah, Thane's interesting. I kind of wish he had a bit more stuff in 2, but it's that thing where when you have a character with that kind of, like, I don't want to say omniscient, I can't think of the right word for it, but that kind of mindset, it's hard to, like, get, like, really deep emotionally with him. But it was a really cool concept for a character, and I think they did the best that you can do with a character that has that kind of premise in 2. Oh, whoops. Oh, we're back.
That's me.
That's me.
Well, I found another can on the shelf that said satin, because I gave this a shake and it was still glossy for some reason. Maybe it has been sitting here for a long time, so maybe it's weird. But the satin,
it's lost its mojo.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually looks more satin than glossy, so
that's fair.
Good. But with this mini, I think I've got to wrap up here myself.
That's fair. We've been going for a while. I'm probably gonna do a little bit more work on this lioness off stream, but
nice.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I got a good amount done. I based a lot of things. I got this, I don't know, Bandicoot or Mongoose, whatever it is, done. I got 2 Myconids done.
Nice.
They could use some touching up, but they're good enough for tabletop, which is the important thing. I didn't start on. I want to do the sloth at some point. Oh well. I'll probably keep painting through Critical Role. I usually do.
Awesome. What's coming down the pipe? In Streamland.
What's coming down the pipe? Because Memorial Day is this upcoming weekend, next week's schedule is a little bit weird. Instead of the Build of the Month coming out on Tuesday, it's coming out on Wednesday. And we are also officially moving the Build of the Month streams to the first Thursday of every month instead of the first Tuesday of every month now, so that they're not happening on the same day as the Build of the Month releases. So next week, Build of the Month comes out on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, and then Build of the Month stream happens on Thursday. I think the plan is that we still do the Hobby Hang on Thursdays as well.
Okay. I was just wondering about that when you said that.
Yeah, I think that's currently the plan. We'll see how that works out. We might end up moving it around. I mean, as we transition to moving back into the office, like, the streaming schedule might very well change. We're kind of adjusting to a new normal now.
For sure.
Also because, I want to start adding different kinds of streams to the schedule. We're currently doing a big office move. So we won't be changing things up too much until after that. We're setting up a lot of new desks. We're moving into a new room. We're changing a lot of stuff right now to kind of set us up for the next for just everybody being back in the office. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, on the anvil next week at Wednesday, and then Thursday's got 2 streams. Everything's happening on 2 days next week, actually. Wednesday and Thursday have all the action.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to tune in. Well, thank you for running the stream, the hobby hang stream tonight.
Yeah,
Hyping
man.
Hopefully, I'll get my stuff set up by next Thursday, and it'll be back to normal.
No pressure, man. Do what you gotta do. It's more important that you live than we get these streams out in some particular fashion. We can do it however.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Glad you think so.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hold on, maybe I can. Let's get. Where am I at? Hey, it's me.
Oh. Hey,
Hello.
how's it going,
Thank
guys?
you everybody for hanging out in the hobby hang. It's always fun. I look forward to this every week.
Yeah.
Hey, and you know what? At least, even though you were running the stream, I still had my traditional tech hiccups right off the bat. So some things never change.
Yeah, that is true. You still did have some problems. Oh, this just kind of hurts. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you for coming by, guys. Is it Thursday yet?